Welcome back, guys, to Off the Record with A&A. Episode 4, we've got a lot to talk about. We'll start with NFL. Then we're going to cover some track time, some records that were broken this weekend, and we're going to talk about the AP poll for college basketball.
All right, let's get into it. Great week for NFL. Exciting both games. I wouldn't say the first game was great, but the Chiefs versus Bengals was an amazing game. So let's get into that now. All right, you want to start off with your thoughts of the game?
Yeah, sure. I think we can just quickly go over the Eagles 49ers. 49ers, four-string quarterback. Just nothing going there. I think it kind of shows that Brock Purdy did a good job this year. He goes down and they lose 7-31. I don't know if he'll be starting next year, probably unlikely, but kudos to him for coming in and going like 7 or 8-1, whatever it was. He did a good job. Now moving on to the game that was actually a competition, Bengals and Chiefs at Arrowhead or Burrowhead, like what they were saying before the game. The Chiefs were 0-3 against the Bengals and Burrow coming into this game. Definitely felt like they had our number. I think that was undisputed. This line was very close. A lot of teams I think the majority of people were going with the Bengals. I wouldn't say the Chiefs were like the favorite in this at all. There were some injuries that happened. The Bengals were missing some O linemen to going into the game. The Chiefs, they ended up missing three They ended up missing three receivers. One of their corners went down with L'Jarius Sneed. Willie Gay was injured a little bit. Just a game with a lot of injuries. It came down to the wire, and the better team won this year, going to Pat Mahomes' third Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. I just want to start off and say that the Chiefs deserve to win this game. The way their defense especially stepped up and really stopped Joe Burrow on key drives. And to all the people saying that the refs were the reason the Chiefs won this game, it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like you give Joe Burrow the ball with 2.5 minutes to go, he should win the game. But no, Chiefs stop him, and then Mahomes gets the ball with 40 seconds left and kick a game-winning field goal. Like,
People can say what they want to say, but the referees weren't the one hitting Mahomes late out of bounds. That was number 59 last I checked. And not only did Burrow have one chance to win the game, he had two.
Yeah.
He threw a pick on a 3rd and short, and then they get the ball back, and they have to punt on 4th and long. Which great job. Frank Clark played a good game. Chris Jones played a really good game.
The
Chiefs did a really good job pressurizing, getting to Joe Burrow. They did a great job rushing him and getting pressure because there were those big plays where he lobbed it up to Jamar Chase in double coverage and he came down with it, or where he threw it up to T. Higgins. Just tall, good receivers that made plays. That's hard to defend, but overall just a good game from the Chiefs defense. Great job from their pass rushers.
Yeah, Chris Jones having the best playoff game of his career, never coming in, never had a sack in a single postseason game, and then had two last night, which is just incredible. Just shows you real leaders step up and shows you why he probably is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. Or he's top 3, so who knows?
And I think another aspect to this game was Mahomes did a good job. He had some moments that just weren't very he had some plays that were just like, what's going on? Where like that ball where he just fumbled it, he lost control like right off the rip, dropped it, Bengals picked it up. I really felt like that was like the biggest momentum switch of the game. Because if you remember, I think it was a 4 and out. They had to punt. We get the ball. We start to drive on them again. We're up 7. Feels like we're going to go up 2 possessions, right?
Yeah.
And then, drop the ball. Bengals get rolling again. Man, after that, it really felt like the game last year at that point. It's like, man, we were about to go up 2 touchdowns, maybe a touchdown and a field goal. Man, that really killed momentum. But, that 4th quarter, it really felt like I almost felt like the Bengals were going to beat us again because it really felt like it was anyone's game. Like it was just like waiting for the Bengals to go down and have a Joe Burrow drive and score. But that never happened, man. Chiefs, they pulled it out.
Yeah, just really key defensive plays. Also some the line played amazing in my opinion. That was probably the best key role was the Chiefs defensive line. I mean, they sacked Joe Burrow 5 times, and 2 times in late in the fourth quarter, which were very key sacks. Sealed the game pretty much. And then also, I want to talk about probably an underrated play that not a lot of people are talking about is that kick after the punt with like 40 seconds left, the return by Sky Moore. I mean, really set the Chiefs up around their own 45, and the Chiefs only needed about 15, 20 yards, and then they get an extra 20 yards to kick a more manageable field goal with that flag at the end of the game. But just great return by Sky Moore. I mean, really was a key momentum shift as well with 30 seconds left to play in the game. And then also with Mahomes with that banged up ankle, you could see he was limping on it, hobbling on it. And then when it came down to needing a first down with 20 seconds to play, I mean, he went all out. That just shows you why he's the best player in football right now.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest question mark for everyone coming into the game is what would Mahomes look like moving around? Everyone knew he was going to play, but like how good was he going to be, and how mobile would he be? And obviously he wasn't 100%, but I think that he looked a lot better than what I thought he would. He looked a lot better than what a lot of people thought he would come into that game.
Yeah.
Obviously something's bothering him, but he didn't look. He really didn't look like he was too banged up out there. He was able to still roll around, make plays. There's some, parts that didn't look too good. That one play in the third quarter where he threw across his body and then he's kind of hobbling back to the huddle. I think the middle linebacker was getting some pressure on that play. And, he just he had a couple dumb mistakes. Obviously, everyone saw dropping the ball, but like he really made some great plays, some great throws. That 3rd and long situation where he hit MBS in that small window for that touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Like that 4th and 1 where he rolled around and, he lobs it up, let Travis Kelce go and make a play. Which Travis Kelce, I think it might be fair to say he's the greatest tight end ever now.
Yeah.
It's either him or Gronk. I think if he's not number 1, he's right behind Gronk. You can make the argument with run blocking and stuff. But Travis Kelce has been huge. He played another great game. MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I think he had the game of his career. He really stepped up.
Yep.
He probably had over 100 yards, I'm guessing. I mean, he just had a really good game. And, overall for the Chiefs, it was just a team effort. It wasn't like Mahomes was carrying or, anything crazy like that. The defense did its job. There were some questionable plays from the corners where it's like, man, is Joe Burrow going to hit those tall receivers all game? But, the pass rushing really helped out and they got it done.
Also, a really key play was that interception late in the fourth quarter, or about middle in the fourth quarter as well. Cook doesn't reach out his arm and tip that ball, that could be going for 6, and Bengals take the lead, and they're up 7. But,
yeah, is that the play where they threw pass interference, right? When they're driving like way back at their own end zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bang play. I agree with that call. He got there early. He probably would have caught it if he didn't get there early. But, Joe Burrow, he still threw 2 interceptions. One of those picks I don't think was too bad because late in the fourth quarter, obviously remember that 3rd and 2, he throws the ball like 60 yards downfield and it gets intercepted. That was basically like a punt. But, I think Joe Burrow, he didn't have a bad game, but, this was definitely a game he could have won. Like there were opportunities there and he did not capitalize. His not a great game from his offensive line, but, the Bengals had several chances to get it done. And, they're fans and people are going to cry on Twitter and blame the refs. But, if you critically think through this game, you're like, you had multiple opportunities to win. You can't just, people used to always say, oh, Brady and the Patriots, it's the referees. People always make that excuse. But at the end of the day, you had so many chances to win. You had 2 at the end of the game. You could have gone down and had your scoring drive and won the game. Exactly. It just didn't happen. You didn't come through. You have yourselves to blame. And now this offseason is going to be tough. Next offseason for them is going to be bad because then I think they're going to have to pay everyone. But they got to get Joe Burrow in a contract. I think they need to pay Boyd. They might let him go, I'm pretty sure, because after that they're going to have to pay Jason Higgins. So it's gonna be crazy. They're going to have a lot of money to owe. And it's going to be tough. I think this era of them just being as dominant as they've been, not really dominant because they're zero Super Bowl franchise, but they've had some good runs these last couple of years. It's gonna be tough for them because they're gonna have to start paying these guys.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pay some of those guys. Some of those key players on defense, are gonna need contracts. They also should also take a look at their O line as well. Again, there's just some questions with the Bengals in this offseason. You never know. I mean, it's just sometimes when teams fail to reach the end goal of they're really good teams, but like the Bills as well. They should be in the Super Bowl. Like that's their goal these last few years. Bills and Bengals both have Super Bowl or bust pretty much for them, and they fail to reach the Super Bowl. And how long is it going to take for the team to stay with each other and just keep losing losses that are just going to hurt them down the road? I mean, players are going to eventually leave and go to a team that can find a way to win, especially players that are needing big contracts up and coming in these next couple years. So, just sidetrack, like with the Bills as well. Like it's also gonna be interesting seeing the Bills this offseason or next offseason, as long as the Bengals as well.
Yeah, I'll quickly say that I think the Bills made a mistake in giving Von Miller that huge contract. He's getting older. Give him 6 years and all that money when you have more than one hole to fill on defense. It was ambitious, and I don't think it's paying off for him if he can't even stay healthy for the playoffs. Getting back to the Bengals, they actually did spend some money this offseason on getting their holes in their offensive line filled. They went out and they got some guys. And, they were hoping that would result in them winning the Super Bowl. It didn't. They're already paying their offensive line. Now they're going to have to start paying not one, not two receivers, but they have three good ones, which I think it's unrealistic for them to keep all three, especially when Joe Burrow's at the end of his rookie deal as well. So, if Joe Burrow is a guy that he's going to be able to get that max contract. So, I think it's more likely that he does go out and get it, but there is a chance maybe he'll take a team-friendly contract. But, if you start paying Joe Burrow that 40 to 50 million a year, then obviously Jamar Chase is going to get as much money as he can. T. Higgins, if the Bengals don't give it to him, another team is going to offer him a lot of money. Just a really tough situation. I think it's going to be like, Tyreek Hill ended up leaving the Chiefs because we couldn't give him that much money. I think it's going to be the same deal for the Bengals. They're going to have to I don't even think it's one. I think they're going to have to let two guys go. It's a really tough situation for them. Hopefully, maybe Burrow can take something team friendly, but you just don't see guys doing that really. So you can't expect that at all either.
And if you also look, you can make the argument like, oh, Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, they have the same problem with Mahomes being paid too much. I mean, Mahomes is getting around $48 million a year, but the Chiefs also have well-paid certain positions to help their team, not just going out and paying a bunch of people on offense and then having no defense. In these last few years, they've really started to rebuild their defense by paying Chris Jones, reducing Frank Clark's contract a little. Kelsey also reduces contract a little to help the team. It just comes down. I feel like Mahomes is going to keep his money. I don't see Mahomes really reducing his contract anytime soon just because they're winning and stuff. But who knows? Mahomes might, once it comes down to the point where maybe he loses Kelsey in a few years, he might reduce his contract. We don't know, but it's just the Chiefs have strategically done it where they are spending money with Mahomes to keep him for 10 years and then spreading out the money throughout the team. And the players don't care. They know Mahomes is the best player in the league, so they don't care. They want to play for a guy who's going to win them championships, and they already know that. So they are fine with taking a little less money than other teams would maybe offer them. But that's just the problem with some players in the NFL. Some players want the money and they don't really care about the rings. And it just hurts some franchises and hurts some teams' chances from winning. And then also I want to talk about another thing. You had 3 rookie DBs in the game yesterday. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd couldn't really get anything going except maybe like one or two big plays, and that's it. They didn't really do anything. They should have been running all over the Chiefs' defensive backs, but they didn't.
Yeah, I think that T. Higgins might not have as good of a game as he could, but I think Jamar Chase did good. That huge play where he shouldn't have caught that ball when they lob it up to him and double coverage, and like he just goes up and makes a great play. T. Higgins, there was a ball in the fourth quarter where he doesn't get his hands up and it hits him in the helmet. So I think for him, there are some plays he could have made, didn't come through. Back to your point about the Chiefs and their contract situation, besides Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is a total waste of a first-round pick, they really have done a great job drafting. Isaiah Pacheco, we got in the 7th round, and look how good he's been. He's had some great flashes.
Isaiah Pacheco,
he had some great runs. We've done a good job. I think our corners are going to get a lot better. Karlaftis, he made some plays. He's contributed. He's not great, but I think he's got a high ceiling for him.
Same with McDuffie. Yeah.
McDuffie had some plays where he got burnt, but at the same time, he had a couple balls he batted down, and I think our young core is pretty good.
Yeah, he also he had some mistakes throughout some of these games, but he overall played pretty well, and his defensive back rating was actually pretty high for among all rookies as well. He's not a bad rookie. Some guys just take a couple years to learn. But he still played really amazing, better than a lot of other corners in the league, like Eli Apple per se.
And that's another thing. I'll say this before I get to Eli Apple and Cincinnati's douchebag mayor. But the one thing is about the Chiefs situation is not necessarily even guys that are on their tail end of the career, but guys that are in like a dilemma, not getting the stats they want, not getting that huge contract. Like you take guys like Juju Smith and MBS, the Chiefs are in a great situation for receivers where you can come in and contribute right away and get your numbers up. Look at the season Juju Smith has had. I think he had 900 yards and he missed some games too. MBS everyone's learning his name because of the game he had. He played with Aaron Rodgers and he had some flashes like that, but I think he's looked real good with us too. If you're a receiver and, you need like a short-term contract to prove yourself, the Chiefs are a great spot. Juju Smith will probably get some good offers just because of the season he's having with us now.
Yeah, but there's a lot of talk about him wanting to come and maybe on the same amount of money or maybe a little less, just to stay with the team for another like 2 or 3 years.
I think we only paid him $6 million for 1 year.
I think it was like around $7 million. I think
he might want some more money than that if teams are going to offer him. But
yeah, we'll see. But he really said I don't know. He said he really enjoys playing with Patrick Mahomes and he loves the Chiefs and he's like, this is the best chance I'm going to get to win a couple rings. Who knows? So
and our offensive line looks good. We might have to fill that Orlando Brown Jr. hole this offseason because I honestly have no clue with him because
if he
maybe some bad team will. He wants a lot of money, but the question is a team going to give that to him? Because I think overall, just no one's getting. I think that what he wants is kind of way too high.
I don't know.
Maybe a bad team gives it to him or gives him more than us. We'll just have to see. But besides that hole, really we can just build our defense up. I think because Mahomes he can. With Kelsey still having a couple of years, obviously, and then MBS and some other like Mahomes can make it work. If really we can just get our defense rolling, like a lot of those Brady Super Bowl runs, he had some great defenses.
Yeah.
If we can just build our defense up, get it strong to where we can win games where Mahomes just scores 2 touchdowns, that'd be incredible. So I think if we could just fill that hole from Orlando Brown and build our defense.
You talk about Brady. He had one of the best O-lines and probably one of the best defenses every time he won the Super Bowl. He really didn't have great playmakers as wide receivers, but he was able to manage the game and distribute the ball. And I'd say the Chiefs are turning into what the Patriots were. You have Gronk as a major tight end, and then you have just some solid. I think they do have a little better receivers though than the Patriots did in those years, and the defense is not as good. But I do feel like we you could turn this team into kind of like what the Patriots were, where Mahomes carries the offense, and who knows?
See, I don't know. I think that might be getting a little too carried away. I think we have to win probably 3 Super Bowls before you can make that comparison. I don't like all the dynasty talk because, we've won 1 Super Bowl. Really, we just got to focus on beating the Eagles. 5 straight AFC championships. I think if we only have 1 Super Bowl, say we lose against the Eagles, right? 1 Super Bowl out of 5 AFC championships probably will hurt a little bit. I think we really need to win this game, the Andy Reid Bowl. We'll talk about that later. What I really want to get into is, a lot of professional athletes and just in general, you run your mouth the whole week before the game, talk a lot of trash, you don't show up. We'll talk about the Dork Mayor, but first I want to start with Eli Apple. That dude's PFF grade is he's like a bottom 10 starting quarter. I mean, that dude is just not good, and all he does is talk nonstop, and he's not a playmaker. That dude's just on a good team. He talks all week. Everyone's seen it's the meme of him. It's Eli Apple. It's the microphone, and it's like a burnt piece of toast. I mean, that couldn't reflect him any better. He just talks a lot of trash. He's like the worst player on the Bengals. And for that mayor, I think Travis Kelce's post-game interview is spot on. It's like, dude, shut your mouth. You're the mayor. You don't know football. Your team has 0 Super Bowls. You just got put in your place. So I really love to see the comments after. I thought that we're smoking one for Eli Apple was pretty funny too. Just the Bengals talked all week saying it was Burrowhead, and they got their ass handed to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
not blown out, but they got what they were talking. They got what they, they had what's coming to them.
I'm fine with some little trash talk here and there, but if you're gonna run your mouth and you don't show up, don't cry about losing after. Don't blame other people for why you lost. Don't blame this and that. You talked your mouth. You ran your mouth. You should be able to win this game if you're that confident, and you lost. So take it. I mean, if you don't want this loss to hurt that bad, shut your mouth and come in the game as poised, and maybe you might win because you're not all cocky and all that stuff. I mean,
Bengals are some of the worst sportsmen in the NFL.
Exactly.
They don't know what it's like to win. They start winning and they just get arrogant and talk.
Exactly. And then I also want to talk about the mayor a little bit. Like, what are we doing, man? You're the mayor of a city, man. You shouldn't be out. You can talk like, hey, go Bengals. We hope they win. But you don't need to be talking about, oh, it's Joe Burrow, Mahomes' father. Like, dude, that's just out of control. Who knows? It's Cincinnati, so they all probably love that. But if I was living in a city with that, and that was my mayor, even though he was talking about like my football team, I still would be like, bro, like that's a little embarrassing to like call that as your mayor of your city, in my opinion.
It's just unprofessional.
Yeah.
It's completely unprofessional. It's disrespectful. And, never once in my head have I wanted to visit Cincinnati, Ohio, and I think it'll stay that way until I die. He lives in a boring city. No one cares about it. They have 0 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Everyone saw them lose to the Chiefs.
Him talking about last year.
Stay in your lane.
Him talking about last year's game and the Bengals beat the Chiefs and all that. Like, you didn't win the Super Bowl, buddy. What are you talking about? You didn't win the Super Bowl. Congrats, you won the AFC Championship last year. But did you win the Super Bowl? No. And then he's talking about – I also thought this was funny. He said Kansas City isn't in Kansas. He was making fun of that. Buddy, the Cincinnati airport is in Kentucky.
He's ignorant. Because, if you look at the Chiefs fans, probably the majority of the ones there's going to be – Missouri's a bigger state. But, there's a lot of support in Kansas City, Kansas. You got Olathe, Blue Valley, Gardner, Shawnee Mission. You got all these places that are huge, and they love the Chiefs. He's a mayor, but he's kind of stupid. I don't know. The people voting there must be really dumb. The fact that he gets in and he says all this stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. And, he can keep enjoying their runs where they lose because they can't finish because they're the Bungles. And, they're notorious back in the day for not being able to win at all and choking in any game that mattered. And, they get a little bit of success. They get a little bit of little games they win here. They win their division. which they never really do. The Ravens have kind of dominated that.
Ravens and Steelers, pretty much.
You know, I guess their Super Bowl, we'll see. But, I mean, as of right now, it looks to me like their Super Bowl was beating us last year and then losing the game that mattered the most. So, I mean,
yeah,
I guess that's the Bengals franchise.
Also, who was the reason they lost? Big play came down to Eli Apple, and he got burnt and touchdown, and the Bengals lose.
Also, did you see the video of tough scene from 59? Everyone saw him crying on the bench after. Don't really blame him for that. That really sucks. Who knows what he's feeling, man? It has to be awful, feeling like you let your whole team down off that one play, which it comes down to more than that. But, I mean, obviously that hurts. Did you see the video of the other Bengals linebacker, I think?
Yeah.
Yelling at me, said, man, I had 1 year left. Shit, and you why are you hitting the quarterback out of bounds? What'd you think of that?
I don't know. It's frustration. I get it. But at the end of the day, man, that's your teammate, bro. Like, I know he may have caused the game, but you also got to look at you can't just blame one guy for the loss. I mean, there was other reasons they lost the game. Joe Burrow throwing 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, not being able to capitalize on the Mahomes fumble, or they did capitalize on that, but not being able to capitalize on some key drives. I mean, they had all their chances. I mean, that one play, yeah, it hurts. I mean, helped the Chiefs win, but that wasn't the reason the Chiefs won the game.
It definitely helped.
But it's just a little bit arrogant, but I also see where he's coming from. Like, it's frustration. You lost. I mean, and just knowing those Cincinnati players and the Cincinnati fans, they're gonna pick one thing to blame the game on. So he picked his one thing, and he blamed his linebacker, and everyone else in Cincinnati is blaming the rest, which is just outright stupid. I could pull up a couple videos on the internet that I saw today of some blown calls from the Chiefs should have gotten. And then also want to talk about the play where they blew the play dead, where they got the replay, the 3rd down, and everyone was pissed about that. I mean, you can clearly see in replay the guy was running on the field before the ball was snapped. It's just Arrowhead's so loud, and when you call it Burrowhead, the fans are going to be extra loud, and no one can hear the ref blowing the whistle from that far down the field. But you could clearly see he was coming down, and the whole reason they replayed the video, they replayed the play, was because they got confirmation from above, the video crew above, saying, yeah, some guy did run on the field, and we need to replay the down. The down was technically blown dead before the ball snapped. And it doesn't even matter because the Chiefs didn't even capitalize on it. So you can't even blame that for the loss.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was talking about this at lunch with some of my buddies, and the point was made, like, after big games, the losing side's always going to complain. But I think that last night and today, it really was ridiculous. You can tell Cincinnati's just a fan base that is not familiar with winning games that are important at all. They've never been here really, and they kind of act like it. They had one run last year where they lost the Super Bowl, and they're probably the most arrogant, toxic fan base I know, maybe besides Philly. They're right up there with them. But at least Philly can actually win a Super Bowl, more than one.
Yeah.
If you watch the replay, the far side official is running in doing this. Now, when you're playing at Arrowhead Stadium and it's a 400 decibel volume per watt stadium and you can't hear because it's so loud, Joe Burrow can't even hear trying to call plays during the game at certain moments. I mean, the officials missed it, but the play's still being blown dead. So if they had a touchdown that play, say he throws it, MBS, touchdown, or Travis Kelce, someone, they're still calling it back. And what's funny is they talk about that, but like you said, it doesn't even matter. A touchdown wasn't scored. That's just more fuel to the fire for them to cry and whine. But, I mean, end of the day, Joe Burrow had 2 chances. They didn't get it done. Chiefs are the better team. That's what you get all week for talking. You don't deserve a Super Bowl. If you're just going to – especially if you're going to lose and just make excuses all day, you just got to admit you had chances to win. You came up short. There was a play, Kadarius Toney, where that was probably a touchdown. They called it incomplete. You watch the review, and it's 50-50. You could call it either way. And, they called it incomplete. Chiefs fans aren't getting on there and crying saying we should have won by more than what we did. We know we made mistakes. Like the Mahomes fumble and stuff, it was closer than what it should have been.
Yeah.
Accountability really isn't a factor anymore. Even when you have the Bengals players like Jamar Chase getting on Twitter, it's like, dude, be competitive. I mean, Tom Brady has a great quote. He said if you're explaining yourself, if you're talking, you're losing. You shouldn't have to say anything. The Chiefs don't have to say anything. We won the game. We were the better team. Onwards to Philly.
Yeah. And now I want to move into these next about 5-6 minutes of us talking about maybe the Super Bowl and just our thoughts on the Eagles making it, and then our predictions, and then we can move on to a new segment, some running. So with these next 5 minutes, we can talk about the Eagles making the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs. I just want to start off with the Eagles are a really good team. They have proven me a little wrong by them getting to the Super Bowl, but also their path has been super easy. We cannot lie. Their path has been easy. They play a 49ers team with no quarterback, and everyone's saying, well, they still beat the number one. They still put up 31 points on the number one defense. When your offense is going 4 and out every other play, every other drive, the defense is going to be tired, and you're eventually going to score points. And when Josh Johnson fumbles the ball on the 49ers' own 30-yard line, the Eagles should
four-string quarterback.
The Eagles should easily be scoring. And then Josh Johnson went out in the middle of the game, and so you have Brock Purdy just handing the ball off every play. You're not going to win like that. And the Eagles are – if you're giving the ball to a team like the Eagles, I think the Chiefs, same as well, would easily put up 30 points in that situation. I mean,
and we did. We whooped the 49ers.
Exactly. There's no offense,
and,
there's no defense.
And I agree. The 49ers, if you look at – I'll just say it. The NFC was considerably weaker than the AFC this year. Without question, I don't think you can even argue that. The AFC was the better conference. I think the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals, completely healthy, are better than any team in the NFC. The Eagles are a good team. They look really strong. They're a complete team. I think they have a good chance to beat us in the Super Bowl. But I think our path to the Super Bowl was earned. It was a lot harder. Not that the Eagles wasn't. They were the best team in the NFC, but that was a weak conference this year. They played the Giants, who the Giants had a good season, but still, they would have gotten their butt kicked in the AFC playoff too. They wouldn't have won a game in the AFC, exactly. In the AFC playoffs. Daniel Jones had a good season. I think that he's proved a lot of people wrong, but I just don't think the Giants are ready for that yet. And, then they play a 4-string quarterback. They already had the last pick in the draft in there, the 3rd-string quarterback, which he managed to go 7-1 with him. Kudos to him. Great season. I don't think he'll be the starter next year because they'll probably get some other guy in there. But, he did his job. But, the 49ers, great team, just, but if they had a great quarterback, they'd be even better. Playing with their 4th-string, that's another easy win. So I don't know how tested the Eagles are. There was a game I watched this year where they played the Commanders and they didn't look good at all. But I think obviously they bounced back from that, and that's probably an outlier. But they're favored right now by 2.5. I kind of agree with that right now, because that's the thing is we really got to see this next week. Because the spread is just going to be it's going to be fluctuating, right? It's going to be changing. It might go Eagles -1. It might go even. It might go Chiefs. It might go back to Eagles. We really just have to watch the Chiefs' injuries, because after that game, 3 receivers out, corner out, Willie Gay's hurt. They're still going to be talking about Mahomes, even though I think he'll be fine in the Super Bowl. Because his situation, I think the Chiefs might have over-exaggerated. I don't know if it was a high ankle sprain. I think it might have been something more like, he might have sprained it, but I don't know if it was high ankle. I think he might have just hurt it. I think that Mahomes is better than what a lot of people thought. And, who knows? I don't think we'll know the, full situation of what Mahomes' injury was till after the season. They're not going to release all that. And, I think that we'll really just have to watch. It feels like the Chiefs are banged up, man. It feels like we've been through the ringer. If we were just looking at, say, both teams are completely healthy, I'm saying Chiefs are winning this game 100%. But, with how strong the Eagles look and how the injuries we're losing. I mean, I think if I put bias aside and I wasn't a Chiefs fan, I'd probably be going with the Eagles, maybe in a close game. But, Jalen Hurts, he's a very young quarterback. It might be too good to be true. Is he that good? Is he like a Super Bowl champion caliber quarterback? Is he gonna win this huge game?
I don't know.
Um,
I mean,
I'm gonna stick with my guts and I'm gonna go Chiefs.
yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna go Chiefs too. It's all gonna come down to if the Eagles can get the run game established early. And if we look at the way the Bengals played, they tried to run the ball early and quick, and they couldn't get it done against that Chiefs defensive line. They had a couple decent runs, but they really didn't have anything going for them in the run game. So if the Chiefs are just able to shut down the run like they have in a lot of games this year, lately, I mean, they didn't really do well against the Jags, but they have done well against the run, pretty much. That's probably their strongest point on defense is against the run. If they can stop the Eagles' run or just stop them a little bit and make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, I think the Eagles are in trouble, in my opinion. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a great runner. He can scramble, but he hasn't during the playoffs, I mean, and late, he hasn't really made any like impressive plays, impressive throws. In my opinion, he hasn't really, his stat line on throwing isn't really impressive to me. I mean, so we'll just see. And if the Chiefs make Jalen Hurts throw a lot, I think the Eagles are in trouble, in my opinion. Because the Eagles solely rely on the run game, and then they like to run a lot, and then they like to get those deep balls or those pass plays in because the defense isn't ready for the pass.
And you got to remember, Jalen Hurts isn't perfect. He lost his job going back to college. He lost his job at Bama to Tua, had to transfer to OU. Some of these plays, you see clips of, he'll have open guys. He's looked great this season, but there are plays that happen where, he has wide open guys and he overthrows them. He shoots them to the right, too far to the left. Doesn't always get the ball there. I think it's fair to question how accurate he's going to be passing the ball in this game because this is the biggest game of the season. This is going to be way different than any other NFC playoff game, way different than any regular season game. I mean, this goes without saying, like, this is the Super Bowl. Any flaws he has will be shown. The Chiefs, they don't have great corners, but, I mean, the Chiefs are a team that's hot. They've been here before. They've won a Super Bowl. They've lost a Super Bowl. They've been to 5 straight AFC championships. This team is battle-tested. And for this Eagles team, this might be too good to be true. Last year they were, 500, got blown out by the Bucs the first round. Then this year they're rolling. They make the Super Bowl. Great team, but, this might be like the Panthers run where they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, number 1 seed, and then they lost to the Broncos with Peyton Manning. And then there's a couple other storylines is obviously the Kelsey brothers. It's pretty cool. They're both playing, but Andy Reid, this is a team that fired him. He was there. He had a lot of success, and I do think some disrespect has to be taken from his point. He's going to be motivated to win this game. I mean, the Eagles are a team he never won a Super Bowl with. He got very close, but it didn't happen. I think he's going to be motivated to not let them win it against him. He's going to be dialing up everything he has. I mean, I really think this is going to be a close game. It's going to be really good. I think this will be a great Super Bowl. I think this will be one of the Super Bowls people remember. This will be a great game to win.
All right, now switching on to track for a little bit, and then we'll talk about the college AP poll after. You want to get started with this 3K American indoor record?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of exciting. It's our first time talking about running on this podcast. We both run at the collegiate level. Very interesting for us to see, this is the American record right here, Yared Nuguse. He was a great runner at Notre Dame. He hasn't even been post-collegiate for that long. I think it's less than a year, and he's already getting the American record. It's 7:28. That is a fast time. That is insane. It's great for American running. This is the new age of distance where, everyone's doing workouts in carbon plates, Dragonfly spikes are super fast. It's a great time to be a distance runner. And, even if you just look at if you go down the list, I mean, you look at number 3 and Mario Garcia, On Athletics Club has done a great job with their runners. They get some really fast guys out to do workouts, a great training group. Their coach has done an amazing job with them. It's really great to see. And then even if you look, you even got some collegiate guys thrown in there. You know, 7:42 and 7:36 are not bad times at all. You know, that's really
Uh,
fast. It's great to see this.
7:36 is the NCAA 3K record. That
Yeah,
guy just broke the NCAA record as well.
I mean that's just incredible. That's the race to do it. You know, Yard gets the American record, and then right behind him at number 5 is Drew Bosley from NAU, which NAU, um, incredible program. A
Yep.
lot of great distance studs there, a lot of well-known names. Um, and Tennessee has a solid program as well. But I think the headline here is On Athletics is really taking over American running.
They have. I can agree with you on that. And also, I want to talk about Hobbs Kessler as well. 7:39, and he was the youngest. He was the youngest in this field by I think a year or two. I mean, he's 19 years old and he's running 7:39 as a 19-year-old. That's crazy. I mean, we saw this kid right out of high school go to the Olympic trials. Just turned 18 like a couple months before the trials. But for him to run under 7:40, only 19 years old, I mean, um, we'll see where his career goes, but who knows? We could see another great in the next couple years from coming from him.
Yeah, and he's from Michigan, so a lot coming out of high school. I remember it was rumored, if a Big Ten school could land him, if he was going to go and compete
Well,
for
he was
some of
going
the,
to NAU. He was gonna run at NAU,
and then and
but
then
he
he chose to
decided to
go
go
pro right
pro.
away. Yeah,
Yep.
wow. But I remember he was highly recruited. There people were saying there was potential for him to break records in the NCAA, and I mean, clear that they were right. He's running unattached with Adidas. Um, or sorry, not unattached, but he's running pro for Adidas at 7:39. I mean, I think that Yard Naguse has the American record at 7:28, but I think a good question there is how long will that hold? Because for distance right now, even if you just look at the mile, I mean, you look at Washington, and they had 7 or 8 guys that broke 4.
8 guys that broke
You
four.
know how crazy that is? That means there's
Yeah.
like 5 guys on their team that can break 4 in the mile, but aren't going to place at conference because of how good their team is. I mean,
Exactly.
that is just insane. That's crazy. Um, that's just crazy to be right now. Like breaking 4 in the mile for distance used to be like very rare, unheard of. But like, there's so many guys doing it now. Times are getting a lot faster. Um, it's just really fun to watch. Speaking personally, it's pretty cool. Just to see all these fast times, and it's great to be a distance runner right now with everything that's going on in the distance world.
It really is. And then also we scroll up here. We also have mm, the 5K American record that was broken as well at the same meet, the Boston University Terrier Classic. You see Woody Kincaid. I mean, this is a really big surprise. I mean, Woody Kincaid. Uh, I mean, he's a really good runner. I mean, made the Olympics a couple years ago, but could I have seen him breaking Grant Fisher's American record from last year? No, but he did it. I mean, and there's also a huge question. He leaves Bowerman this year, goes trains for about 6 months on his own with some other guys that are just from Nike, just regular Nike pros, and look, he breaks the American record.
Yeah, and Joe
So
Klecker right behind him at 12:54.9. Um, going back to On Athletics again, they have a guy in there at 8. That's just really impressive to see from him. I think a lot of people thought he probably would have beat Woody in this race. Um, and then kind of going over to the collegiate level, a lot of people recognize Morgan Beatlescombe. He won. He won. He was a national champion at Michigan State. Great runner. He kind of has a different build. He's like super tall. He's kind of bigger. Um, but just overall a great runner. And then you look at number 4 with someone that still is in college and has eligibility. 13 and 11 is a very impressive time for Dylan Jacobs. Tennessee has a really good program going on there. I think Tennessee's kind of scary because they got some guys in MD and like they have some 400 runners too. Just overall, they've got a lot of speed. They've got distance guys. It's a great program.
and then also you talk about On. I mean, you have Jordy Beamish from On, Joe Klecker from On, But you also have Jonas Reeses, OAC, and then Slash running for his country. Same with Ben Flanagan. He's from On, but he's kind of running for his country
Hmm.
with Canada there. But those are 4 On guys right here running these insane 5K times indoors.
And that's not common at all. Usually it's kind of evenly split, but like, right here On is they're really dominating. And, I think it's interesting to like kind of think they're kind of like they're very new, right? Like
Yeah.
Nike, Adidas, they've had obviously with their history with Bowerman, they have this huge step up on everyone else, right? And then On comes on recently. They have an amazing coach. He signs all these guys. It's just crazy like how they're able to work together, and it's like it really is a team effort. And
And then I
they're
don't
all
know
running
if
fast times.
yeah, and I don't know if you saw they did a workout like I think a week or two. I think it was 2 weeks before this meet, but they posted on YouTube and they had all their guys in the workout go sub 4, and they were all saying, "Oh, that was comfortable. It was easy." Like, and that was with altitude. And then they come to Boston down altitude, and then you got one of them breaking an American record, and one of them was only 2 seconds off from the American record as well from Joe Klecker. I mean, he led most of the race. Woody Kincaid just caught him the last lap. Joe Klecker ran an amazing race. I mean, he said the goal was just to break 13, and I mean, he did it considerably, and it was close to breaking the American record as well. But this just shows you running, distance running is taking over the running world, and especially with like new companies like On creating their own carbon plated spikes and shoes. I mean, there's more runners having the opportunity to go pro and getting a wide range of different companies, and we see that with On, and On is just doing something special in Colorado right now.
Yeah, and distance really, you just got to keep building on this. They're doing a good job, but if it really keeps growing and growing, I mean, you get more attention for the sport, you get more money for these runners to sign with these brands. Running like notoriously is like you have to keep doing it at a professional level. Obviously, you have to be probably higher than top 1%. I mean, there's not a whole lot of money in running historically. So, you get all these attention for the sport right now. You're getting all these fast times. You really need to market the sport right now. All these races need to be free, easy, available to watch. They need to be On Athletics really needs to be making a lot of gear right now and trying to sell that. And overall, shoes are getting better, spikes are getting better. Running, you just got to it just needs to stay consistent. You got to keep promoting this and keep promoting and try to get more money into the sport.
As the last 5 years have gone, running is coming down to the technology side, in my opinion, with these new carbon fiber plates and all that, with all the shoes and stuff helping the runners run fast. I mean, we saw with Eliud Kipchoge when the first ever carbon fiber racing shoe came out from Nike, the Alpha Flies. I mean, then he goes sub 2 in the marathon. I mean, it's a lot of technology in running. You'd be surprised if you didn't know much about running. You'd be surprised at how much technology goes into these fast times as well. I mean, it's just really interesting and really fun to watch. I mean, just as the years go on and with our careers, we'll see technology improve and it'll help us run faster. And then after we're done running, we'll see the technology even keep going and going. It's just going to be really cool to see how fast people can get in the future as well.
Yeah, and hopefully it continues to grow. Another thing I think that, not just me, but maybe several other Americans would like to see is, we could really use like a dominant American distance guy to just go in and win races at the, at the highest level. Because like it's cool to see someone get the American world record, but we've kind of been lacking in these at the Olympics, at these world championships in the 1500, in 5K, and these distance events. I really think it would help if an American guy got in the mix and was able to compete and win these, because a lot of attention right now is on Europe, in the 1500. Everyone knows his name, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, European guy. He lost to another European guy. He lost to someone from Australia. And, I think it'd be really good for American distance running if we got another name. Like everyone talks about Steve Prefontaine, how great he was. And he was legendary. But I mean, it's been a long time since then. I think it would really help American distance running if we had just one guy that could just go off and, win multiple. If he could get first multiple times at the big level, I mean, that'd be great to have a front runner that's American.
Exactly. No, we're waiting for that. I mean, we saw it with Galen Rupp about 10 years ago. I mean, he made some opportunities for him to win some really good races, but came up a little short. I mean, he got second in that 5K in the 2012 Olympics, which is really huge for American running. And then also, I mean, in 2016, we saw Centrowitz win the gold in the Olympics. I mean, that's huge, but now we're in a different stage in age of racing. I mean,
Right.
people are wanting to run fast now. They don't. There's guys that they know they're better than you, so they're gonna go out and run fast, just like Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He's like, oh, I'm faster than everyone else, so I'm just gonna go out and pace the race the entire way. No one can beat me.
Yeah, that
So
kind that kind of came back to bite him. I think everyone thought he was going to win that 15. But he's a young runner, and he has potential to get the world record.
he's still 22.
Just so much potential there from him. It would be nice if we had an American like Jakob Ingebrigtsen, which I mean he really is. He lost the 15 and he turns around and he wins the 5K. I mean there's a lot of range from him there, and that's
Yeah.
great for the sport. It's
I
really
mean,
cool to see a guy that can have that speed and quickness, but then he also has that great strength to where
I
he
don't know
can
if you
come out and
saw
be the
this,
fastest
but
5K runner.
I don't know if you saw this, but there's rumors where he wants to do the 15, 5K, and 10K in the upcoming Olympics and win gold in all three of those events.
If I were him, I'd probably just focus on winning too. Because the 1500 was a race he could have won. 10K, 5K, 15, I think that might be too much. But if anyone can probably try and make it happen, it's him. It's a great goal for him to set his mind on. But that 10K and 5K combination is hard enough, and then you throw in a fast 15 in there. It's not impossible, but I mean I think it's very unlikely. If I were him, I'd try to double and get the 5K and 15.
Yeah. All right. Now let's switch into our favorite segment, I think, college basketball. As we look at this week's new AP poll, we'll start off here with 1 through 13. Purdue, the first unanimous number one this year, getting all 62 votes to be the number one team.
Yeah, they deserve it. They have a 7'9" big man in Zach Edey down there. He's not that tall, but they got someone that's just gigantic. He probably will win that Naismith Player of the Year. They're actually a very fundamental team. They really don't have any guys that are athletic, but you have someone that big down there that can get a lot of rebounds, finish inside the paint, and he can kick it out to guards that are good at shooting three and good at handling the ball. They looked very good against Michigan State. I watched that whole game. They controlled the game from the start. Michigan State, they didn't even look necessarily that bad. They just looked outmatched. They missed shots, and Purdue came down. They ran their offense, and they made them pay every time. Purdue can control the pace of the game. You're not going to get offensive rebounds against them. So you really have to have a good shooting performance, and you got to have a great big man down there to stop Zach Edey. I think they're a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, they deserve to be the number one team. I mean, there's no question that anyone should be after Alabama losing.
And they were
Terribly.
the first unanimous number one pick of the season.
Yep. And then moving on, Tennessee moves 2 spots. I mean, after a top 10 win against Texas, I mean, that's huge for them. Just great win. They controlled the game pretty much the whole time.
Tennessee might be the one SEC team that could survive with a Big 12 schedule. They look good against Texas. It was at home. Texas is a solid team. Their assistant coach coming in, it's kind of interesting to see how they'll end up doing, because I do think they'd be a lot better off with Chris Beard coaching them. But just a great win for Tennessee. I think that was the one matchup from the SEC Big 12 Challenge, where it's like, the SEC team was just better. We saw 2 losses in this SEC Big 12 Challenge. TCU, their best player, Miles Jr., he goes out, right? And he doesn't come back in. They're already missing another starter. Close game, they lost in overtime. But I think if they have those guys, they don't lose to Mississippi State. And then Iowa State at Missouri, they're losing 2 starters. And then Caleb Grill's kind of banged up as well. It's a road game. They kind of you watch the game, they kind of just used it as a break from Big 12 play because they were an injured team. After the K-State game, they put a lot of marbles into that game, winning at home. And, just a dominant showing from the Big 12, going 7-3 against the SEC, proving exactly why they're the best conference in college basketball.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just shows why they're the best conference. We moved down to number 3. I mean, Houston, not much there. I mean, expected them to stay at 3. And then a huge loss from Alabama, just embarrassing for them. Thought they would be the ones running away with the SEC, but after that loss, I don't know.
These rankings are dumb. From the 4 through 6 spot, Alabama lost by 30 to OU, bottom of the Big 12 team. They just got to hand it to them. They need to go down more than 2 spots. I mean, that's a joke. Arizona and Virginia don't belong at number 5 and 6. I think K-State should have stayed at number 5. They lost to number 12 Iowa State team on the road. That's just a hard game. They played a fully healthy Iowa State team, unlike the joke of Missouri basketball. And they just lost a tough Big 12 conference game. And, I think that the AP poll, it has its moments where it can be pretty bad. And I think dropping Alabama only 2 spots after losing by 30 is one of those times where it's pretty bad.
Also, I want to say this. Why does K-State drop 2 points to losing to a number 12 Iowa State, but when KU loses, they jump 1?
Yeah, and they've gone 1-3 their last 4 games.
Yeah,
one of
they
the
lost
worst
to Baylor,
one of the
Baylor
worst stretches of Bill Self. It tied when he lost 3 straight games in a row in 2013. And then here's another thing to talk about this Tuesday is KU and K-State, number 7 versus number 8 at Allen Fieldhouse is on ESPN Plus. I mean, what a joke. It's a scam. Why is this not on ESPN or ESPN2? ESPN is a money greedy company. They hire people to talk about sports that are either, former athletes or hot females. And the most popular ones, they just go off narratives. You turn on ESPN now and you so bad. I mean, some of the guys talking on there, they don't even try to talk about statistics or anything that makes sense. They just go off a player and say, you take what's his name, Nick whatever at FS1. He's going to Nick Wright. He's going to just talk about Mahomes and LeBron. You get Bayless. He's just going to talk about Brady and Jordan, which there's more to basketball than that. There's more to sports reporting and talking about sports than just writing players.
Most ESPN analysts on these talk shows get clowned, then get praised by making good sports statements. I mean, we saw with Max Kellerman for years, and with him, man, he was just getting clowned because of how bad his sports takes were, and ESPN finally got the sense and fired him.
And he sucks. He's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, one of his most popular videos is he's saying he'd rather have Andre Iguodala than Steph Curry taking a 3-point shot. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's all, I think the whole challenge is for them to say something just as controversial as possible and see how much attention they can get, see who supports them, which I mean, really they should just be talking about the games, how the games are going, what they think is going to happen, injuries, they should actually be talking about the game and not all these narratives, and their personal opinions should be put aside, and they should just be talking about sport. And back to this poll, I do like that they've given more respect to the Big 12 besides number 4 through 6. KU, Texas, Baylor, Iowa State. It's great to see all those teams behind us, not too far behind, but right in that top 15. And I think TCU is number 15 as well, aren't they? It's like
Yeah.
this is great rankings. More respect is being shown to the Big 12. I do think that Baylor and Iowa State are too low. Gonzaga should not be number 12. UCLA, I'll give it to them. They're a solid team. But as we look,
they got blown out by USC.
That's a rivalry for them. But yeah,
They shouldn't have gotten blown out.
You're right. I'd probably take I'd put Baylor, Iowa State, and Texas all above them.
What I'm just really questioning on the poll, though, is yeah, I know we didn't see Arizona or Virginia lose, but did they play any ranked teams this week? No. K-State plays one of the best teams in the country. They lose like by a couple points. It was a close game the whole time. And then they just dominated Florida the entire time. I mean, they came out with the first 10 minutes already up by what, like 15 in that game?
We're playing more top 10 teams in this week than Alabama will play in their whole SEC schedule. We are playing
or Arizona.
We are playing
or
at
Virginia.
KU at Allen Fieldhouse against the number 8 team in the nation, and then we're playing home against Texas. And then the next week we're playing Baylor, and then we have TCU and Iowa State again.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. I mean, I honestly think that you could put 5 Big 12 teams in the top 10, and it would make perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I just hate how one loss in the Big 12, and they don't respect you at all in the AP poll. I mean, they're like, you lost, so you need to go down. But you're playing one of the best teams. Put Virginia, put Arizona against KU, K-State, Texas, Iowa State. Are they going to win? Probably not. So would they drop? Yes. So I just don't know. This poll kind of makes me mad. And
here's the thing is about the AP polls. It's a lot of sports writers voting, which no one really cares what they think. I mean, do you really care what someone like just writing articles thinks about necessarily? Like, I mean, who cares? I mean,
because it comes down to the real logic, and it comes down to the people who choose the March Madness bracket.
And you know what was real funny was when they put Charleston at number 16, thinking it was all clever and cute, and then we see, they don't play anyone. And then they play a team that's still not playing anyone, and they lose by a lot.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's move out of this top 10 now. I mean, we've talked a lot. I want to get started with, we talked about Texas. Baylor jumping 6 spots. Finally, well-deserved for them. I mean, yeah, they
should be in the top 10.
They had that rough stretch at the beginning of the year, but they're playing all ranked opponents. And, and the team is still getting under its new coaching staff. Some new coaching changes, some new players. I mean, we called it. Scott Drew, yeah, he lost 3 in a row, but he was going to turn it around. He has got Keontae George, one of the best players in the country right now. This Baylor team should be top 10.
I agree. And then Iowa State and TCU aren't ranked as high as they should be either. Iowa State and TCU were both missing starters in their losses against the SEC. TCU lost their best player like 2 minutes into the game. I mean,
if I'm an Iowa State fan, I'm furious. You beat number 5 in the country and you drop a spot?
And they're missing 2 starters against Missouri. Caleb Grill was banged up as well. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I know you lost to Missouri, but according to the AP poll, Missouri's a really good team anyway, even though they weren't ranked. The AP poll still loves them.
Not anymore.
They still like to give them votes for the top 25, even though they can't get into the top 25 anymore. But you beat the number 5 team in the country, and you're dropping 1 spot.
And here's the thing.
Especially Gonzaga moving above them when Gonzaga is not good.
Missouri shouldn't sniff the top 25. You put them in there, and they'll lose to Ole Miss the next week. I'm calling. Like, that's just what they do. They beat a team that has a high ranking, but they're missing starters because they're just coming off a K-State game, which in the Big 12 conference play, it takes a lot to win that game against number 5. They're banged up. They saw this week against Missouri. They're like, we've got injuries. We can't play. We can't play good because we're missing some guys. That was their week off before getting back into Big 12 play. They didn't care about that game. Missouri won at home. It's just a win that doesn't mean anything really. I
It
mean,
doesn't matter because right now in bracketology, Iowa State's a 2 seed. So
and then
they're 13 in the AP poll, but right now, if you go look at bracketology, I think
and then if
bracketology is way more important than the AP poll, in my opinion.
and then if I look at the 16 through 19, that section right there is very upsetting. St. Mary's, they don't play anyone. They play one good team that's not even like they'll play a Gonzaga team that's not nearly as good as they have been this year.
Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic should not even be close to being ranked. Maybe if they're undefeated, but then again, I'd still question it because they don't play anyone. Xavier lost. They should have dropped further. Marquette's looked good. I'll give it to Marquette, but putting them ahead of TCU is ignorant again. Big 12 is way better.
What about Providence jumping 6 spots?
Not deserved. It's Big East basketball. It's not 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, they don't deserve it. Also, Clemson has lost some games that are questionable, but I mean, I guess I do like Indiana. I think Indiana should be higher than 21. Indiana's a good basketball team. I think Indiana.
What about San Diego State?
I'm not sure about them. I haven't seen them play, but once again, who do they play? I mean, that's a question that these AP poll sports writers do not ask. I mean, you have a good record, but you don't play anyone. That good record doesn't mean that much.
Exactly.
Miami, they had a really good showing. They've had some bad losses, but I will say I watched them play. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday night, and they won by 40. They had a strong week. I'll give it to them.
They dropped 3.
They must have lost Saturday.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so I don't get it. That team's so inconsistent because when I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, they were winning their game by 30 points, and then I guess they just dropped the ball Saturday. But Auburn, West Virginia should be in the rankings ahead of them. That's a middle of the pack Big 12 team that beat them. And then UConn is somehow still staying in the rankings. There are probably 2 or 3 Big 12. Here's West Virginia should be ranked. So that would be 7 Big 12 teams that are ranked, right?
You have UConn, who's lost 5 out of their last 6 games, and they're still ranked. Oh my goodness.
West Virginia and OU could both be ranked ahead of Auburn. OU has a bad record, but they just beat the best team in the SEC by 30 points.
They beat a lot of people's number 1. A lot of people were picking Alabama better than Purdue. Oh no, not anymore.
And then what? The 74 people that are voting for Missouri need to lose their votes. You know what number is important for Missouri basketball? 0, because that's how many Final Fours they've made. And this year they've lost to bad teams, and they let bad teams score 90 points a game on them. They do not belong anywhere near the top 25.
If anything, out of these teams receiving votes, I think Creighton deserves more votes than Illinois, Charleston, and Missouri.
And Creighton's won like 4 of their last 5.
I know, and they've just beat 2 ranked opponents.
And why is Charleston still getting 68 votes? They just lost to a no one.
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
But yeah. With that, I mean, anyone else you see? I mean, North Carolina's getting votes. Duke's getting votes still. I mean, just because of their history.
Man, Arkansas sure fell off.
Yeah. What I think is disrespectful is how West Virginia only has 2 votes. 2 votes. They should be more than that.
And how does that?
They just beat Auburn, who Auburn was 15th in the country.
Okay, so OU, explain this to me, right? They play in the hardest conference in basketball by far. So they're going to have some losses. Their record's not great, but they just beat the number 2 team in the nation by 30 points. How do they not get a single vote for this poll?
I have no idea.
Big 12 is still disrespected.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see when it comes to tournament time. Just wait. But who knows? I mean, lately in the bracketology, I mean, these teams are beating up on each other. That I've seen some like OU and West Virginia are now getting knocked out of the tournament. Surely not after this week, after last Saturday's victories, but
I've said it
recently,
before, and I'll say it again. I think every team in the Big 12 should make March Madness this year. I mean,
yeah,
I think 8 of the 10, 100%. And then you take the bottom two, which are, is it Oklahoma State and Texas Tech?
yeah,
Oklahoma State's lost to KU by 2. They've lost to K-State by 2. They've beat Iowa State, fully healthy Iowa State, by the way, unlike Mizzou. They win big games, and they lose close games to good teams. And then, maybe not Texas Tech. They're not having a great year, but like if Texas Tech is in the ACC or the SEC, they probably have like 5 losses right now if they're in a different conference. I mean, the Big 12 is way better than every other conference, and it's getting disrespected. And it's kind of annoying to see at this point.
yeah. I agree with you. And then looking at some other teams, I mean, nothing really here. I mean, I don't really know much about many of these teams. I mean, Texas A&M as well. I didn't I say last week that they were going to have a huge upset win? I forgot who they played, but and they do.
And,
Let me
and
see.
Florida Atlantic is the new Charleston. Let's put that on
Yeah,
the record. It's like every week the AP poll, instead of giving a Big 12 team some respect, they try to find some new clown to put in there because they think it's funny and they can write stories about how some team in a bad conference should be in there and they can just write whatever they want and they can get away
let's look
with
at.
it. But then the
I
March
want to
Madness polls
actually
will come
look
out and
at.
we'll get a lot
I
better
want to
seat.
actually look at Texas A&M real quick. 17 votes is just kind of a disgrace for them as well.
Well, they started the year off in the top 25.
They're 7-1 in conference play, 15-6, and they just beat Auburn last week by 16. They easily beat Vanderbilt. They do lose to Kentucky though. They beat Florida. They beat South Carolina, which is actually not a bad team this year, by 31. And
South
then they also beat
Carolina, I mean,
Missouri.
South Carolina is not a good team. I mean, that's the thing about how do we know how good a win against Auburn is? How do we know how good a win against Arkansas is? All these teams are just a big question mark. They don't look very good.
Exactly,
They,
but you have
I mean,
A&M who's 7-1 in conference play, and they have 6 losses, which yeah, some of those losses were not great, but they also beat Missouri by 15. And Missouri has way more votes than Texas A&M.
well, that's dumb. Missouri
Charles State
shouldn't have
has
any
way more
votes.
votes than these schools. Like
And then how do
Missouri
St.
and
Louis
Charles
and
State
Oral
getting all these votes are just a disgrace to some of these teams.
sports, they need to come out with a whole new way of how they make rankings. Maybe not just have the coaches vote on it. Like we don't need the coaches poll replacing it, but we don't need all these idiot sports writers voting on this. I think it should be similar to what we have from the selection committee. We need knowledgeable people voting,
I mean,
giving respect where it's earned.
if you look
Not
at this,
giving someone that has a good record because they don't play anyone a high ranking, but giving it because they beat good teams and they're a good
if you look
team.
at this, the two teams behind A&M is Tennessee and Alabama.
Which that's another question. How good is the SEC? Alabama
Exactly.
just lost by 30
Exactly.
to a bottom tier Big 12 team. And I mean,
Exactly.
a bottom tier Big 12 team is just as good as a good SEC team.
All right. All right. I think we rambled a bunch. We got a long video here.
Definitely had a lot
Probably
to
our
talk
longest
about.
video yet, I will say. But just a good week, a good sports talk. I don't know if you want to talk to them we got about a minute left here. If you want to talk to them, just a quick 20 seconds on maybe what we'll be doing in the future, and then we'll end off the podcast.
Yeah, sure. So just real quickly, guys, we're running out of time here on our Zoom. But we're really excited. We've got a new idea. So we're gonna stick with a new episode every Monday, but we're gonna start a new segment of our podcast later in the week where we're going to have a guest on and we're going to talk about it. It could be anything. It could be like if you're an athlete, you play basketball, you run track, you're a power lifter, you're a media person. Like we're open to having anyone on our show. Please comment, hit us up. We'd love to have some guests on here.
Yeah, I agree. Just DM us on our. All right, yeah. So we'll have something on that on Instagram. We'll ask you guys to just send a DM or message us privately. Either one of our Instagram pages. Just asking if you want to be on the channel, and we'll take pretty much anyone, like Massey said. But just want to end it off here. Thank you guys for watching episode 4. I know it was a long one, really our longest one yet. I mean, we really got into some sports topics, got to a new topic with track and field. But hope you guys enjoyed, and look forward to week 5 next week. And also upcoming, we'll have new segments with